Nice to see you, Marcy. All right, guys. So let's just let the dust settle a little bit. Just kind of find our center. I've heard from a few people they're not going to be able to make it, so we'll see who rolls in as time rolls on, but it might be a sparse class tonight, which is fine. So let's just land where we are. Just be with what's right in front of you. All of it exactly the way it is. Nothing to fix, nothing to change. Just breathe in the authenticity of this moment. Let the inner story stop and just breathe in the authenticity of this moment. Now, if there's anything anyone would particularly like to talk about tonight, you're welcome to unmute yourself and let me know, or you're welcome to put it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll just see what floats up. Okay. So let's go into meditation. Attention at the forehead and crown. Eyes focused on the floor or on the desk in front of you. And just be with that. As you breathe in, you're right there with that. Breathing in the moment. As you exhale, you remain right there. In the moment you're living, following the exhale. Not reaching into some future moment, not playing with some past moment. Just here, focused, abiding with something real. Let's do that for a while and then we'll talk. Let go of your inner life. Use this physical world to stabilize you in the moment that you're living. And use your breath to direct your focus to this moment. Just let your inner self hang wide open, just like an open gate, clinging to nothing. Find your balance in this moment. Let go of time. Your conception of time is just you trying to escape this moment. So slow yourself way down so that you can be in this moment eternally, right here, right now. Absolute patience. Unhindered expansion into this eternal moment. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit and then we'll get back to our meditation. Human consciousness is capable of becoming anything. Human consciousness is, well, it's a shapeshifter. It takes on the shape of whatever captures your attention. You know, if you look at learning theories in psychology, they talk about modeling, where a child learns to become something by watching it, watching something happen. You know, I was a massage therapist for 15 years, and I got really good at it really fast by standing behind my teachers and imitating their movements while they were doing their demonstrations. I got to feel what it was like to be them. It's a shape shift. In that shape shift, you take on the knowledge, the feeling knowledge of what has your attention. And there's real power in that when you do it on purpose. But most human beings are doing it all the time by accident. You know, they'll watch a scary movie, and then for the rest of the night, they feel like they're in a house where something awful can happen. You know, today I was walking my dog, and she scared the crap out of me because I had my attention so united with her that when somebody came out from behind a corner and she jumped, I jumped, even though there was nothing to jump over. You have this energy body. You know, it's not something that anybody has necessarily proven. I mean, I'm sure some people would say that that's not true, but the fact is, if you meditate long enough, you become aware of the flow of energy through your body, through the moment that you're living. You become aware of this flow. When you're meditating, you mostly become aware of it because meditation shifts you to the natural state. And so your flow goes from something that is contrived and stuck and misshapen to something that is very round and free-flowing and centered and even. It's a palpable shift that I assume everybody has experienced from these classes at one point or another. I imagine it's the reason you come back, right? When you're done with a class like this, you feel different. What's changed is your consciousness. And that shift in consciousness has changed your energy body. It's changed the way feeling flows through this body-mind complex. Well, that flow of energy has credence in your life, you know. You can actually make yourself sick if things aren't flowing properly for a long enough period of time. You can actually help maintain wellness by keeping things flowing properly. But we're constantly distracted, as we've said a million times, by our fears and our desires. And so our attention is always getting trapped, and it creates strange distortions in our energy and in our flow that make us feel like we need a meditation class, right? It's the thing that brings you here, is you want to feel better. People come to these classes because afterwards they sleep better. The reason you're sleeping better is because you have energy moving to places in your body that were really lacking that nourishment. To participate in the world, you're going to take on some kind of wonky shapes. You know, you can't help it. Life is not easy. You know, we go through difficult things. You know, for the last 2 classes, we've been talking about my father on hospice. He was on hospice for 11 days and then died a couple of nights ago. And it was time. You know, I watched my father literally slowly dehydrate to death, which, you know, it doesn't matter how clear-headed you are, if you have your attention on such a difficult moment in someone else's life and in the life of your family, that is going to do things to your consciousness that you can undo, but that you are going to feel. You know, you come away from that experience blocked in certain ways, exhausted in many ways. And the funny thing about all of that is that when you most need to clean up your energy and do your meditation practice, those are the times when you're least likely to do it, right? In those moments, you know, unless you really know what you're doing, most people are not going to have the clarity to just go and sit in an open state, to go ahead and let that pain be felt and moved through. You know, you also become very sensitive to the feelings of others, and so you're connected to people who are suffering. And that takes its toll on you as well. And in the middle of all of that, it becomes so important that you open up, that you let everything flow, that you actually shift your attention from that story and spend time in what's essentially a therapeutic state, an energetic therapeutic state of meditation, which is really just reality. You spend time in that place that is you, that is not conjured by a story. It's the you that remains when all conjuration has ceased. And in that space, that emptiness, that pregnant, resonant emptiness, all of your energy can start flowing the way it was meant to. But, you know, you have to get yourself back there. And if you don't have someone like me pounding on you to get there, you need to know how you're going to get back there in some of those difficult moments. The skill of getting back there is really no different than the skill of learning how to meditate in the first place. You know, it's a balancing act. You know, I'm saying this now because I just got knocked down very hard, right? This, you know, an experience like this puts images in your head that don't leave easy. And you cannot just allow yourself to stay exhausted and a mess. You know, you give yourself time to grieve. You give yourself time to not have to show up for a million things. But the process of pulling your energy body back on track when it has been pushed so far out of whack really is a process of focus and release. Focus and release. I was trying to think of analogies for this, and I don't think I have any relatable ones. I mean, if anybody has ever driven a boat, it's kind of like trying to get a boat into a slip. You know, a boat is floating on water, and so there's a part of that that's difficult to control. To make a boat turn, you have to push a motor forward a little bit, but just a little bit. That's the focus. And then you have to release it and kind of allow the turning of the boat to interact with the water. And it's going to get a little bit towards what you want, and then it's going to overshoot it, and then you have to correct a little bit with just another push. When your energy body is exhausted and out of balance, you have to do the same sort of thing with your focus. So it's It just depends on how you're out of balance. If you're just out of balance in your mind, you can be working up here, just working the way we've shown you, where you give kind of a wholehearted focus onto the forehead and crown and onto your breath, where you're really glued to it through effort, through concentration. And then you let go of that a little bit and you just try and abide there. And the waters of your imbalance are going to kind of move you past where you're meant to be in your concentration. And so then you give another little burst of concentration, a corrective repositioning. And then you let go again, and you just sit open and breathing. Until you feel things start to shift out of balance again a little bit. And you just watch that, and you kind of let it happen a little, and then you give another burst of focus. And you do that until the boat of your mind is in the slip. A slip is where you keep a boat. This is a terrible metaphor. But, sometimes if you've gone through something that's lasted many, many days in a way that you couldn't really escape it, it's like even if you're meditating in the place where it's all happening. It starts to zap energy from your physical body. And for that, you really need to start with getting your physical body energized again. And so rather than focusing up here in the beginning, what you'll do is you'll actually focus down around your navel. Okay? The lower center that we work with, which encompasses the navel all the way down to the perineum, is a center that you could use, but really the specific spot is just a few inches below the navel and into the body. And you just kind of pull all your energy into that space, and you just hold it there for a moment. And what you're doing is you're actually centering yourself in your body. These stories, they shape-shift your consciousness to a point where eventually you're just not in your body anymore. You've expanded. Especially if you're doing a lot of spiritual healing and energy work and things like that to try and help somebody, you can really deplete yourself. And so the process again is the same. It's just that it's happening down just a few inches below the navel and in the center of your body. Try it with me now for just a second. Place your attention down there, center yourself down there, and just feel the physical solidity and strength of that positioning. Just be in the clarity of that solid strength for a few moments. Now you can even show your body what you're doing by actually using your hands. You can reach out. My hands are going to leave the screen. Inhale, and then just bring all your energy in and down. And then hold your hands just a little below the navel. Inhale. Exhale. hands going down to the navel. You can even come out this way, around and forward, and down to the navel. You're basically pulling everything down to your center. You can go down and pull up to your center. And what that does is it's actually showing your mind, showing your subconscious that you want to center your consciousness back in your body strongly. Try that now. Doesn't matter, there's no right or wrong way to do this. What I do is I will inhale as I'm reaching out, exhale, bring it down to that center. And just do that a few times. And then sit still with your attention down at that center. I even like to tag certain hand gestures to it. For me, that gesture is this. I just hold my hand vertically and bring it down. And that is a signal to my body to take all the energy that is scattered out and start bringing it back towards the center of my body. When you first use that hand gesture, it won't mean anything. But the more you start pulling your energy back in and centering yourself, if you then use a hand gesture like that, your subconscious will start connecting that hand gesture to that action. Stay in that center for a few moments and just feel what I'm talking about. Really use your concentration to center yourself there. Notice how it makes you feel more solid. Now, because you can't spend every minute in concentration, let go of your concentration a little bit. And just be aware of your energy down there. Don't hold it down there. Don't do anything. Just be aware of it. This is the difference between concentration and meditation. You just abide there. You make it your home. No effort. Just willingness. Like we talked about last week. Now go back and feed it with your concentration. Actively hold your attention there. Pull everything towards that space. Apply some effort. You're pulling your energy under control. You're taking the reins on your energy. Now let go of the reins and just be there. Be in this moment. Feel what your energy feels like now. Can you feel how it wants to stay there a little better? You've trained it. You've trained stability. Now, why don't you gently apply just a little concentration? You don't have to bring out the big guns, just enough to center it more, stabilize more. Just a touch-up. And you can let go. Now come up to the heart, center of the chest. And I want you to apply a little bit of concentration, a little bit of effort on making the heart wide open and available. Just a few moments of flowing energy through the heart. Just like you're giving this moment a giant hug. Let that feeling move through your heart. Use your concentration to just gently open a bit. Now let it go and just be at the heart. Notice how it's changed a little. Apply a little concentration. Open, flow. Reach your arms out. Turn your palms up. And just focus on opening this heart. Vulnerable, open, ready to give and receive. Now on the inhale, you're going to take the entire world into the heart. On the exhale, you are going to release your heart to every living being on this planet. And now just be at the heart. Notice how it feels. Notice the subtle change. Now quickly return to the lower center. And just stabilize yourself again in the body. It's easier now, isn't it? Maintaining that center, come back up to the heart. The free-flowing heart. It'll get better every time you practice this. And now come on up to the head, to our normal site of meditation, forehead and crown, and you can even include the back of the head if you like, but forehead and crown are enough. And just stabilize yourself in the open, spacious, meditative mind. Let go of every story. And just expand into this moment from the forehead and crown as you watch your breath. Let's just do that for a while. When the mind starts to wander, you're going to apply a little concentration to bring yourself back to your chosen point of focus. Then you're going to let go and you're going to abide there. And if the mind starts to go off course, you're just going to return to a little bit of concentration. But the more times you do these corrections, the less force you'll have to use to get the mind to rest at the center of where you're placing your attention. I want you to practice this now. Use your concentration as necessary, but don't overcorrect with it. Get yourself centered, and then let go and abide at that center. Stay awake. Stay conscious. Stay clear. Focus where you have to. Let the floodgates of the natural state be open. Just let it all flow. Let it heal your body and mind. Okay. So take a moment and just register how different your body feels, how different your mind feels. Try and register what's different. It's important because otherwise your mind will convince you that this doesn't do anything. So you need to always make sure you take a real moment to register what it did. Maybe even write it down. Maybe this wasn't your big moment, but you'll have them. And when you do, in those moments your mind tells you that you'll never forget this, but you always do. As someone who's been teaching this for 20 years, let me tell you, you always forget. You have to write it down. You have to write notes to yourself. Notes telling yourself what you did, how it worked, why it's important. Notes reminding yourself that just because you can't remember why you cared doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. I used to have a journal just filled with little notes like that. But in the beginning, it's important. Realizations like this are tenuous. And they're unsupported by life. Well, they're supported by life. They're unsupported by the illusion, the story that you live in. Are there any questions or comments or concerns or anything? No. Um, you know, it's really just a very natural form of the yogic movement, from concentration to meditation to eventually union, which is an experience that happens deep in meditation. But why don't we just call it course correction? Because that's what it really is. It's course correction. There's a trick to abiding, you know. It's always a matter of like, how do you get there when, it takes somebody clear to remind you to get there. And when you lose your clarity, it's hard to remember, right? The very mechanism that would ask you to do it is missing. And so you need a way to get there. And this is the way. It's these little corrections, because you won't have the energy to just be there. Your personal power level is low. And so you won't have that ability to just let go of everything and enter into meditation. That comes with time. I can do that now mostly. Although this last experience, I did notice it's like, oh, I have to go back to some of the things that I used to do just to get my physical body, my physical energy body back into balance. Because I was finding I was just exhausted. Good, Sarah. I'm glad you appreciated the boat analogy. I felt like, how many people have boats? I don't even have a boat. But you got to do something. You can't just let yourself get stuck like that for too long. Because the longer you spend there, the harder it is to get out of it. And, it's interesting. You'll find people actually, they walk away from you. The more help you need, the less people want to help you. And that's the sad truth about life. Life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Marcy, I see your hand is raised. Oh, okay. Tell me more about why it's beyond you. Okay. So I'm losing you at okay, so if I say to place your attention somewhere and concentrate, to use effort, do I lose you at that point? Okay, that's fine. So the reason that we talk about the abiding is because that is the thing most people can't do. The abiding is the meditative state. And all that means is that you no longer have to use effort to maintain your point of focus. It's not really focus anymore. You just are there effortlessly. So the way that it's been described in the past is an effortless effort. It's sort of like you could try focus. You could okay, one of the things I've always noticed in spiritual life is there are people who focus on becoming humble and they make a practice of humility. But that's very different than when you meet someone who is actually just humble, right? They're no longer having to provide any effort at being humble. They just naturally are there. And someone is saying abiding is like surrendering. Yes, that's totally another word people use for that exact same thing. But you're not just surrendering to the great big everything necessarily. You can abide at the third eye. You can abide lower in your body. It's just a point where, or you can abide on the breath or in the moment, the whole moment at once if you want. And the difference is that you are no longer expending personal energy in order to remain there. Now, the problem that most people encounter is that as soon as they stop holding their focus there, everything starts to slip. Like a boat trying to get into a slip, everything just starts to shift away from where they were focusing. The mind comes in, or other feelings in their body start pulling them away. It just depends on how you process life, but something starts pulling you off of that course. And so, what I'm saying is, you don't want to always be hard focused on something, but you need some focus to kind of direct the ship. And so, one of the ways to start playing with that abiding is to use that concentration, that effort, to kind of show your body where it is and hold it there for a second and then let go. Hold it there for a second and then let go. And see if you can get yourself to a place where you can just be there effortlessly, just through being willing. It's the difference between willpower and willingness. Willpower is you are pushing to get there. Willingness is, I'm here now. I can just be here. The things that would pull me away, I'm not playing with them anymore. And so this technique is about just trying to help kind of gently, with gentle hands, guide the mind to that place where it can let go at your chosen point of focus and just let you stay there effortlessly. Because once that happens, you're no longer expending energy. You are one-pointed in your focus. And from that moment on, your body just starts to fill like a battery of energy. But it's a big task, you know? And you'll find there are days where you can do it better than others. And this might not be one of those days, and that's okay. Does that make sense, the stuff I just said, or is it still just nonsense? It's okay. So just start bringing your awareness into the slide. All right? So effort, and then sit back and just watch the slide a little bit. Effort, and then watch the slide. Start working with that and see what that does. I think bringing some awareness to it will get you to a point where you can have at least moments in the beginning where you don't have to push so hard. But you know what? Try it. Give me a week where you try it, and then let me know how it goes, and we'll adjust from there. You know, everybody needs something different. And this might not be your technique, but it might. You know, it might be exactly what you need. Give it a try and let me know. All right? Shoot me an email and let me know, and we'll talk, okay? Okay. All right, guys. Anything else? Let me make sure I've seen all the comments. Okay. A lot of appreciation of the technique. Yeah. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, everybody. Any other questions before I let you get back to your night? I want to thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you. Thanks, everybody.